Apparently, Joe Biden has been racing to sell off parts of the border wall before they can be erected. Here's some of the report from our friends at the Daily Wire. You can see here trucks that are literally hauling away unused border wall materials. They're being hauled away from the Arizona border. You can actually see this happening. It's being taken north to a government auction site where bidding for an entire segment of wall starts at just $5. Again, the goal here is just to hamstring the Trump administration from coming in and completing the actual border wall. One Border Patrol agent estimates up to half a mile worth of wall is being transported every single day away from the wall. It's insane. You can see this border wall lined up along the road, just stacked up along the road. Unreal. What exactly is the logic here? I mean, the logic can only be to hamstring the Trump administration's efforts to actually, build the wall. According to one Border Patrol agent, they're taking it from 3 stations, Nogales, Tucson, and 3 Points. The goal is to move it all off the border before Christmas. The government contractor, DP Trucking LLC, is transporting the pieces of the wall north on Interstate 19 to Pinal Air Park in Marianna, Arizona, where it is being auctioned through Government Planet, a surplus government equipment auction marketplace. The agent said, quote, they just started taking all that wall that was not used, which is still totally good and usable, and they started taking it northbound. They're pulling it all off the border. Harold Lambeth, the owner of the trucking company, confirmed to the Daily Wire in a phone call his company is transporting the unused border wall sections north away from the construction sites. The auction website shows that sales occurred as recently as December 4th for precisely the types of material being pulled off the border. The bidding for each section of wall panels is set to begin at $5, according to the website. Representative Eli Crane, whose congressional district borders the Pinal Air Park where the material is being sold, said the Biden administration is purposefully hamstringing Trump before he takes office. He said they're well aware they shouldn't have reversed the construction of the border wall. If it's true, they're purposefully hamstringing an incoming president. It wouldn't be shocking. Why would they want to see President Trump succeed with policies they aggressively sabotaged? An absolutely insane story. Trump is expected to use an executive order to unlock the funds to restart construction of the border wall pretty much immediately. So it appears that the Biden administration is actively attempting to prevent the building of the border wall as sort of a final FU to Donald Trump as he enters office. Absolutely unbelievable stuff, but just another indicator of how badly Joe Biden has screwed up the country. Meanwhile, Joe Biden's foreign policy continues to be a complete scrap heap. It's awful. John Kirby, who is his national security spokesperson, he says, guys, you know what the thing is? We're handing over a better world to Donald Trump. That's weird because the world is getting better as soon as people know Trump is coming into office. Here is Kirby suggesting that we're handing over a great relationship with China.
We believe that as we get ready to turn over things to the Trump team, that we're turning over a U.S.-China relationship that is in better shape than the one we found it in. That doesn't mean that we don't have disagreements. We do, and we will, and I'm sure they will too. But we're working hard on this relationship, and we'll do that right to the end.
Well, with that said, Donald Trump has invited Xi Jinping to the actual inauguration. Xi turned it down. It's an attempt, presumably, to get other world leaders to come and recognize that he is, in fact, the most powerful man on earth. And again, the world is reshaping itself because Donald Trump is coming. So, for example, the chief of NATO, he is now saying something that is obviously true, which is that Europe needs to start taking the lead on its own continent. Here, for example, is the NATO chief, Mark Rutte, saying, it's about time for us to shift to a wartime mindset. You mean now it's time? Where have you been the last, couple of decades, my friend?
We are not ready for what is coming our way in 4 to 5 years. Danger is moving towards us at full speed. We must not look the other way. We must face it. What is happening in Ukraine could happen here too. And regardless of the outcome of this war, we will not be safe in the future unless we are prepared to deal with danger. We can do that. We can prevent the next big war on NATO territory and preserve our way of life. This requires us all to be faster and fiercer. It is time to shift to a wartime mindset and turbocharge our defense production and defense spending.
Again, why exactly is that happening? The answer is pretty obvious. It's because Donald Trump is coming into office. In fact, according to the Wall Street Journal, the outlines of President-elect Donald Trump's initial efforts to end the war in Ukraine last week are starting to emerge for the first time. The main takeaway, Europe would have to shoulder most of the burden of supporting Kyiv with troops to oversee a ceasefire and weapons to deter Russia. which makes perfect sense since Europe is actually quite a rich continent. It turns out the GDP of all of Europe combined is about that of the United States. At a meeting in Paris on December 7th, Trump told Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and French President Emmanuel Macron he doesn't support Ukrainian membership in NATO, but he wants to see a strong, well-armed Ukraine emerge from any cessation of fighting. That is the exact proper response. Okay, all of this talk about Donald Trump is going to completely abandon Ukraine to Russian predations, that's not true. It was never true. He just says Europe should take a lead since, this is happening in Europe. That is not a crazy statement at all. It is one thing for the United States to lend a helping hand to our allies. It is another thing for us to take the lead when our allies should be doing so.